With me now is Congressman Joe Sestak of the 7th Congressional District, a Democrat representing Delaware County and parts of Chester and Montgomery counties. Congressman, thanks for being back.
Good to be back, Steve.
The stimulus bill that was passed, roughly $800 million, is it too small? We're going to come back in the summer and have another one?
It's the minimum amount needed. I would have voted for $1 trillion. Here's why. This package is primarily to stop the hemorrhaging of jobs. If it had not been passed, Steve, we would have lost between today and the end of June 3 million more jobs, and by December had been over 12% unemployment.
But how do we know that? Because the spending, it's $800 billion,
yes,
but that 800 isn't spent this year.
That's correct. What it is, though, is giving to Governor Rendell and the other governors, for example, $80 billion for Medicaid. Why? Because Crozier this week laid off 400 individuals or consolidated their jobs and put them on part-time without health care because Governor Rendell can't pay his bills of Medicaid, and so they don't have...
So you do believe enough money is coming in the next few months to slow this?
Notice what I said was, the first year is about stopping the hemorrhaging of jobs until the construction money put in there takes the kick in 2010. Steve, a depression starts at 11% unemployment. We hadn't passed this, we'd be at 12% by December.
Some people say we're already there. If you count underemployment and the way the numbers have been changed, we're at 14%.
That is correct, but let's go by the statistics.
Right.
We can't be ideologues about this. What does the modeling, what does the past, and what does it say pragmatically? This bill was the absolute minimum needed until the credit starts going again.
All right, but having said that, and I hear from you that we're going to need some other stimulus or whatever it's going to be called down the line. The markets keep sliding. Now, Investors Business Daily had an editorial a couple days ago, and it said it's happening because business and big investors, starting last fall when they realized that Barack Obama had surged ahead of John McCain in the polls, that this administration and this Democratic Congress are anti-capitalist.
Oh, here's why it did happen, but it did happen in the fall. Do you remember the first vote for what people called the bailout failed? That day, as we stood on the House floor to see the vote fail, the market fell almost 9%. So Secretary Paulson stopped going out with the money we gave him, the $350 billion, to buy these toxic mortgage securities and begin to give a clarity to their price so the market would begin to trade them again. They sit on Wachovlia's books. Nobody knows how valuable they are, so the market knows there's no lending being done, as you had in the previous segment. No, the failure was those who failed to vote for that first bill because the markets expected it to pass.
But why did they react negatively this week to the stimulus signing, to the foreclosure mitigation plan, to the talk of the summit tomorrow, to the talk of the budget address that's coming Tuesday night with higher taxes for wealthier people?
The reason is because a week and a half ago, it wasn't the stimulus bill at all. It was that the Secretary of the Treasury about a week and a half ago dashed the market's expectations when he came forward with the new plan for the $350 billion to get the credit going again, and actually did a very poor job by saying we're still working on it. The markets are waiting for the mother milk of our economy, credit, to begin to work again. And that's not the stimulus bill. That stops the hemorrhaging of jobs. Credit, once it starts going again, is what this economy was built upon, and we have to get that going. So we're waiting for the Treasury.
Having said that, you would think the folks that work in the pits would agree with you because they're supposed to be smart, they're supposed to know this stuff, and yet take a look at, on CNBC, Rick Santelli this week, everybody's probably seen it now, going on a rant. Here's part of it.
This is America. How many of you people want to pay for your neighbor's mortgage that has an extra bathroom and can't pay their bills? Raise their hand. How about we all... President Obama, are you listening?
It's tremendously important that for people who rant on cable television.
All right, well, there you have a case of where a lot of people at home right now are probably raising their hands along with Rick Santelli, and you're going to have others saying, oh, that guy's just greedy, he's a hater, he probably never was for Obama to begin with. How do you cut through this?
You know, we're in the middle of a perilous storm at sea, our union, our ship of the union. And whenever I hear a crew member rant like that, I sit back and say, now wait a moment, let's look at the facts. The facts are, Steve, that between now and December, 6 million more Americans will go into foreclosure. And if you own a home and the house goes into foreclosure on your street, your house will drop 10% in value. Second, right now, today, it is not the subprime adjustable rate mortgage people who went to get those that, no, there are more 30-year conforming fixed rate mortgages in default than subprime. And third, President Obama said, I'm going to salvage 5 million Americans who are actually paying their bills but yet they're underwater. The mortgage is greater than the value of their house. Because 17% of Americans are now earning less because they've been placed on part-time, yet still paying their bills. He said, those Americans, 5 million of them, I'll let them get a new mortgage, pay a lower rate, not salvaging. They'll still have to pay as much as they did, just a little slower.
Continue this in a moment. More with Congressman Sestak on Live at Issue. Stay tuned.
You're watching NBC 10 Live at Issue.
Winter. So beautiful. Yet quite possibly the worst time of the year to be on the road. Unless, of course, you're behind the wheel of a Land Rover, enjoying expert capability and the confidence to handle some of winter's harshest driving conditions. For special winter savings on every Land Rover, come into your Land Rover Center today. Land Rover, designed for the extraordinary.
That's quite a bruise. What happened?
Slipped getting into the tub.
You're lucky you didn't break something. That's why I had a shower conversion by Bath Fitter. Bath Fitter came into our house, pulled out the old tub, and installed a safe walk-in shower. Bath Fitter's one-piece wall design means there's no place for mold. It easily wipes clean.
Don't be fooled by imitators. There's only one Bath Fitter.
With a perfect fit.
Imagination is her research and development. And learning through play? Well, that's their action plan. By using their imaginations and playing together, they're expressing creativity and learning to cooperate. The Goddard School. Learning is all around.
Which of these earned car and driver's best pickup in 2007 and 2008? Not the Ford. Not the Toyota. The Chevy Silverado XFE. And guess what? They can't beat its fuel economy either.
Now get 0% APR for 60 months on an 09 Silverado half-ton extended cab. Or choose $4,500 total cash back, which includes $500 auto show bonus cash.
Watching NBC 10 Live at Issue.
I'm Steve Highsmith, back now on Live at Issue with Congressman Joe Sestak. I asked Patrick Meehan this question: are we on the road, given what's happened the last 30 days, to ruin or resurgence?
We are on the road to resurgence. I actually wish it was more bold and even more aggressive. Here's why. In the Great Depression, we went from the day that the markets fell in 1929, 1933, and government did nothing, up to 29% unemployment. Finally, Franklin Delano Roosevelt did what we are trying to do, and in 4 years brought it down to 9.5% unemployment. If we do this boldly, we will be back to a gross domestic product by 2011, which we were last year.
But the people who are worried now,
2014.
Half Americans worried about losing their jobs. They're worried about fairness, people getting bailed out who shouldn't.
Yes. That's a great question. That fairness, what we call the moral hazard in normal times. Right now, though, Steve, we're in this storm together. And much like we won the Cold War, much like we overtook the Great Depression, if we come out of this by 2011, by following these bold, aggressive plans and even more, we will be back to what America was 2 years ago and going forward. If not, Stephen, every model shows that we will have not just $15 trillion in debt, we'll have about $22 trillion in debt and not be out of this until 2014, 2015. This preventive medicine is absolutely critical now.
The President's going to say, I think on Tuesday night, that he's going to cut the annual growth of the deficit in half by the end of his first term.
That's correct.
Taking a look at that, when the real deficit really isn't $455 billion last year, but really $4 to $5 trillion if you did it on general accepted accounting principles. Is that enough?
No, we need to really start. Once we're through this crisis, because, Steve, for the war in Iraq, post-Katrina, for the war in Afghanistan, we do have the government intervene and borrow money to get through a war. This is an economic war. But as we finish this in 2011, it's got to be a pay-as-you-go government, just like you do at home. Balance your checkbook.
Only got a few seconds left. I know it's hard. Quick questions and answers. Is this financial system going to have to collapse to get better?
No.
All right. Are we going to have a new monetary